Today we are going to cut this shirt for my client, and welcome to the channel once again, guys. If you're new here, my name is Eniton. You can call me Eni, and on this channel we will be doing so many fun things regarding fashion design and art, and just a lot of burst of creativity and energy. But today I'm going to be cutting a shirt for my client, and it's just a simple formal shirt. And like you see, I like to draw out and kind of map out what I'll be cutting, so that kind of gives me like a mental map of the number of pieces I need to cut. So this is not really pattern. What I drawn sorry, what I drawn on the paper is not necessarily a pattern. It's just to map out the number of pieces and what they should look like, and the important details and information that I do not want to forget. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I'm going to be using a hip measurement to cut the shirt. So here's why you need to use the hip measurement to cut a woman's shirt, because the shirt is going to extend beyond the hips. In most cases, most women like their shirts to cover their bums. So this shirt is now going to be cut, because when you cut it with the bust measurement, and the bust measurement is usually like smaller in most cases, for some women it's usually smaller than the hips. By the time you cut it in the bust measurement, by the time the person wears it, the hip portion will be too tight for the person. So it's best to cut in the using the hip measurement. So our hip is 40. I've added an ease of 4 inches, because it's going to be it's not a fitted shirt, it's going to be a very free shirt. The fabric is really wrinkled, and thank god it's light this time, so I'm just going to press it a little, just run my iron through it. And I have to deliver this shirt tomorrow, so it needs to be ready, and it needs to be made and ready for tomorrow, for the client to wear tomorrow. So let's get to it. The first thing, obviously, in any sewing project is for you to take the full length. So I'm just trying to check out the full length of her dress, and I'm marking the full length of the shirt. So like I said earlier, this shirt is going to come down beyond her butt, so it's going to cover, because when she wears it over her her jeans or whatever she's wearing underneath, she would like it to cover, so it's going to come down a little. So I'm going to take the full length. So now that I've marked the full length, I'm just going to cut the fabric away, because I don't want none of the disturbance that comes with dragging the entire piece of fabric. So I'm just going to cut the part that I need, so that it can be easy to manage. Press a little more. I can't overemphasize the importance of pressing your fabric before, but in standard practice you should even pre-wash your fabrics before you sew them or make them, so that in case there's any shrinkage, or if it's a fabric that is going to bleed, things like that. But I mean, in Nigeria we don't do that. We are not even paid enough to make the clothes, let alone be pre-washing fabrics. So that's why you have to press. It's important that you iron your fabric before you cut. But in most cases, when there's no light like this for me now, I just have to make do and just cut like that. But don't be like me. Try as much as possible to iron your fabric before cutting. So the plackets, so this is going to be the plackets, that place where you're going to put buttonhole and the buttons. That place is called the shirt placket. So that place is usually 1 inch straight down. So that's what I'm just trying to fold down with my iron, that's 1 inch. But because you are going to be sewing it, because in this case I'm going to be turning it in a little, I'm going to be turning it a little, so I'm going to take 1.5 inch, because the half inch is what I'll use to turn it and sew it down. And then just take a regular shirt that you have, you'll be able to see how they've done it. And I'm just going to use that 1 inch for the buttonhole, where the buttonholes and the buttons are going to be. So I'm just going to fold that in so that I don't forget. So I'm just trying to trim open the front. Remember that it's on fold, and since we're cutting a shirt, this shirt is usually it's open in front by the buttons, so we're going to open up the front. So that's exactly what I'm just doing. So I'm just going to go ahead to pin down the placket area so that it remains where it is, doesn't move. So now let's take the measurements. We're going to take the shoulder measurements, and remember that a shirt always has a much bigger shoulder than your actual shoulder. So the shoulder of my client is 16 divided by 2, which will give you 8, and I've made it 9 because the shoulder needs to drop a little. It's not going to be on the natural shoulder. It needs to drop for a shirt because it's not fitted at all. So I'm going to take the armhole, and I'm going to make the armhole to be 6 inches, because the back piece is going to have an extended shoulder, so it's going to be 6.5 inches for the armhole. So I'll just curve out that armhole curve a bit. I'm just going to give it that curve. So remember that the hip measurement is what we are going to use to take the measurement for this shirt from the top to the bottom. So mine is 40 inches. Then I have added 4 inches for ease, and I've added 1 inch for sewing allowance, making 5 inches. So everything is 45 inches. So I'm going to divide that by 4. I'm going to divide by 4. That will be the measurement I will use for the shirt. So I'm going to take in the measurement at the post part, and we already talked about using the hip measurement, so I'm just going to take my 45 divide by 4, because it's going to be on 4. You cut the front on 2 fold, you cut the back on 2 fold, so divide by 4. So 45 divided by 4 is what I will be using here. So at this point we have to know which part the shirt will be opening from. Most women's shirts open from the right. As you can see, this is a shirt. So just pick, if you're a woman, just pick any women's shirt and check. Most women's shirts open from the right. That is, the right side is the side that overlaps. For men's shirt is the opposite. The left side is the one that overlaps. So for women's shirt, the right side overlaps, and that's how we're going to make it. The right side is what is going to carry the buttonholes, while the left side will carry the buttons. Well, why I'm saying this is because we need to make that side that overlaps needs to sit properly well, in a way that it completely covers the left side. But this is really complicated, and I don't really know if you can understand me. This cut and sew session would be best for someone who's not a beginner, someone who already knows the rope of sewing and like cutting freehand. I'm still going to do a detailed pattern drafting class on how to properly on how to properly draft and sew a woman's shirt. So this one is just a quick freehand method for those who already know the ropes of freehand. So I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. There's going to be a little extra allowance for just a little. It could be like 1/4 inch. It doesn't need to be much, just for that side that overlaps. So what I've just done now is to bring the waist, the part of the waist, I brought it in by 1 inch, And some shirts are, in fact majority of shirts are straight, they don't have that waist detail. But for this particular shirt, I wanted it to just have a slight, just a small waist detail, nothing much. You can see it's not even that obvious, just a small waist detail, just to give it the idea of, just a little snatching. Is not anything, just to give it that detail, that shape, that curve. So you can say I just curve that waist side inside small, and then I continue taking my 45 inches, right, down to the bottom. So I also want the shirt to have a curve. I'm going to put a picture of the curve from the picture because I can see that I didn't really turn the camera well. So I want it to have a curve. It's not going to be a straight boxy shirt. It's going to come up by a curve. You can kind of like see what I mean there. It's going to have that curve. So I just came up by 4 inches on the side, and then just connected it with the rest of my measurements, my normal measurement. I just connected it to the hem. That excess allowance that you can see will be used to cut the collar and the collar stand, so don't worry about it. Need to be used for collar and collar stand and any other small thing that we might need to cut. So I'm going to take 3 inches for the neck. It's 3 inches. Don't make it any more, don't make it any wider, don't make it 3.5, don't make it 3 and quarter of an inch. It's 3 inches because it needs to be fitted, like the neck needs to not be too wide by the time you're putting your collar and everything. So 3 inches. I'm going to come down by 2 inches because I told you that, and the reason for this is because the back piece, sorry, the back piece is still going to have an extended shoulder that is going to fall forward. So that 2 inches is okay. So if it's 1.5, even better. 1.5 is even better. You can make the neck depth to be 1.5 inch. So that's just what I'm just trying to curve out. Shoulder slant is very, very important in shorts. Shoulder slant is very important. It needs to really slant. So I've taken an inch to really get it to be slant, and I'm just going to blend it to match. So that's just it. So at this point, pick up your scissors and cut out the front for your shirt. So like I said, cutting a shirt without a pattern as a beginner will be very, very difficult for you. If this is your first shirt, this is not the best video. I'm going to make another video. But if you are used to sewing and cutting freehand, this will be great. And you soon understand why I say it's difficult. So I'm just going to place that front piece I just cut. I'm going to place it over to get the back piece, and now I'm just going to make an outline of mark out where the shoulder point is, because the shoulder for the shirt is basically the same thing. Front or back is the same thing. It's just that the back one extends for like it's an inch longer. So everything is pretty much the same thing. There are some things to note when you are placing it over your back, because you're not going to cut the exact same thing. The front and the back are completely different. They look different, they are different, they are different measurements. So, and you understand what I mean by that in a bit when you see me do this. So there are some important things that we need to take off note of, and we need to remember while cutting the back. I told you it's not the same with the front. So let us see what are some of the things that we need to remember. Number one, the first thing is that the hem of the back piece is going to be longer. So the back is going to extend down more than the front piece. So we are going to add extra 2 inches allowance to extra 2 inches. Not It's not an allowance, but we are going to add extra 2 inches to the shirt, the normal length of the shirt. That's the front length. We are going to add 2 inches to it for the back length. That's what I mean. And then the back is going to have an extended shoulder. So the extended shoulder is going to be 1 inch, and we're going to add half inch to it because of sewing allowance. So that is 1.5 inch for the extended shoulder. Another thing you need to note about this, the back of the shirt that we are cutting, is that the back has a yoke. So the yoke, we're going to take, of course, I'm going to show you how to cut the yoke and the measurements I'll be using to cut the yoke, but we're going to add an allowance for the yoke to the length. That is 0.5 inches for sewing allowance for the yoke. I think I later cancel, I think 1 inch, 0.5 on each part, because the yoke is going to be joined to the rest of the back. So that will be 1 inch for the yoke, sorry. So all these extra inches that we have just calculated is going to be added to the length of the back side. Okay. It's going to be added to the length of the back piece. So now for the width of the back piece, let's see if we're going to be adding anything. For the width of the back, what is making it different from the front that we do not want to forget is the center back pleat. So the center back has a box, just one box pleat. I'm sure you would have seen it in most shirts. It has one box pleat in the center. So we are going to add extra allowance to the to that part, so that that pleat can be, you can do that pleat with enough fabric and then to come up. I'm going to take the 1 inch extension for the shoulder now. I'm going to mark it in place, plus what the shoulder already is, plus 1 inch. So I'm going to mark it, come up by 1, and then connect it with the same armhole and connect it with the same neck, and same neck width. But the neck depth is not going to be the same, of course, because it's the back. So probably just use 1 inch for the neck depth. But after I measure that 1 inch, I'm going to fold it like this, just the way you see that I'm doing it. See why I say this, doing this can be very tricky. So I have moved the fabric, the front piece back close to the where the back piece is, as you can see, because I'm going to cut the yoke first before I cut the rest of the cloth. So I'm just going to trim it and give it that slant shape first of all for the back. So I'm just going to take, the way I folded it now, I'm just going to take half an inch. After pressing it, I'm just going to press a little. So after that, I'll take half an inch to just curve out the neck to join the shoulder point.